The next thing I wanted to mention is to always make sure that you have a way to serve your customers easily when they have a unique problem that you can't just solve by looking up in your employee's manual or something like that. And here's what I mean by that. The first thing that companies can do to avoid these problems, they need to put a limit on how much artificial intelligence they use in their voice prompts when people call in. If you're calling in to get an issue resolved, don't have the AI voice prompt say, tell me about your issue, because most of the time they're going to try to connect you to a department that you don't want, or they're going to try to give you some sort of self-help that isn't even applicable to the issue you're trying to solve.
When I call Xfinity for my internet, it is just a headache and a half to get to actually speak to somebody in the billing department, because every time I try to talk to them about the bill, the AI wants to send me a text message about my bill and the video, and it's like, I just need to talk to somebody about my bill. I don't want AI's help. I don't need it. I don't understand.
I called Xfinity last week. I'm glad you brought that up because I can relate to this too. I called Xfinity because I had questions about my bill, and I had that exact same experience. The AI voice prompt.
So you get the text message saying that here's a video explaining your bill, when you don't even need that. You just need to talk to somebody. You have a question about a particular charge.
That actually wasn't even my case. My case was even worse than that. When I said I needed to talk to someone in billing, first AI tried basically reiterate what was on last month's bill. And then when it was done reiterating the bill, the call disconnected. It didn't even give me an option. As soon as it was done reiterating the bill, it just said, if you have questions, press so-and-so to get an agent. And I didn't get that. The call disconnected as soon as it was done. When your customers have unique problems that cannot be solved by self-help articles on their website or by anything the stupid AI voice prompt tells you, you need to have a direct avenue to an agent. Quit trying to send us around in circles. Quit connecting us to things we don't need that's irrelevant. Give us an agent.
Give us as little AI as possible. When I try to call, like, for example, the municipal center, I get, to reach such and such department, press 1. For a dial by name directory, press 8. To dial by department, press 9. So I press 9, and then it's like they have a list in order 1 through 9, and then I finally press, like, for example, I need to talk to somebody at option 5. When I press option 5, I get a live person. Why can't companies be like that, Christian? Why do we have to have companies deal with so many AIs, thus getting angry customers? It all goes back to the same topic, angry customers.
Courier service needs they literally they have a phone number, but it's all automated. They don't have a phone number where you can get through to someone, and they wonder why people like me leave the most brutal reviews about them.
I've done the same, Lauren. I have done the exact same thing.
Right.
And there's nobody sometimes companies don't even have a phone number to contact. That makes it even more frustrating.
That makes me beyond mad. Now you're hearing my perspective. At this point, I'm dropping my perspective as a business owner, and now I'm stepping into the shoes of a customer. I do not like it when companies do not have a phone number where you can call if you need help, and there are a lot of companies that are notorious for this. Yeah, Xfinity is one of the worst, and so is AT&T. Their customer service is pretty bad too. Yeah, all the phone companies.
Verizon Wireless. Verizon Wireless and Verizon Fios, both. Just a Verizon company. Oh my goodness, I couldn't even be able to tell you about them. T-Mobile, on the other hand, seems to help out their customers. I will say that.
Every time I've had a concern that while I've been a customer of T-Mobile, they've tried to resolve it within an hour when they actually connect me to a live person.
I've had within 30 minutes, Justin.
So have I, and they always try to make sure the problem is resolved before you hang up. I give T-Mobile a lot of credit for that because they try to resolve it within one call. And the person is usually local within the area code.
To follow up with what he was saying, we just dropped him, but I can attest that what he was trying to say is that they're normally, the customer service rep is normally local to the state in which the area code of your mobile number is, assigned to. For example, up here we have a 201 area code, and we'd have a New Jersey-based call center. In Justin's area, I'm sure there is a call center close to where you are.
Yeah, there's a call center up there in Charleston where my T-Mobile calls are routed to. Somewhere local that understands the local terrain I might be running into that can solve my issue locally without having to call a national number and wait in a 45-minute queue.
Unfortunately, most companies are not U.S. based or even locally based in terms of their help centers. I've noticed a lot of times my dad had to call, for example, Xfinity, Comcast at that time, for his internet, and he kept saying, can you please transfer me to somebody in the United States? Because he would get, he would get India, he would get the Philippines, he would get here, he would get there, but never somebody in the United States. That's frustrating to a customer as well.
That is. Problem is that if you can't get somebody as local as possible, it's just going to have more confusion with the agent you're talking to, because they may be trained to talk to customers in their region versus your region. So localization is key to ensuring that customers have a very easygoing experience with your company.
Or even a language barrier, Christian. There's also that language barrier that, maybe they don't understand fully the language that you're speaking. I've had a call at Shop Right From Home or Pick Up Deliver now I'll call it both because they're pretty much synonymous now. I've had a call at Shop Right From Home from a Spanish-speaking customer. Now, I don't speak very much Spanish, only very, very, very little, enough to get by. I noticed the customer was speaking in Spanish. I asked her, Espanol? I asked her if she spoke Spanish. The customer said, sí, yes. So I said, un momento. I just told her a moment, and I put her on hold, and I went to get one of the runners, the front-end supervisor's equivalent, Yasmin, because Yasmin spoke Spanish fluently. She's actually bilingual. So I asked her if she could handle the call for me because the customer spoke Spanish. Yasmin was able to translate to me what the question was. It was actually a bakery question. So I had to go find Jasmine from bakery, ask her the question, then going back to Yasmin to relate to the customer in Spanish what Jasmine had told me about the bakery issue, which thankfully we had somebody who was able to speak Spanish on staff at that time. Language barriers are one of the most confusing things to get through, in my opinion, as an associate even. On the employee level, if you have a customer who doesn't speak your language, that speaks a foreign language, it can be very difficult if you don't understand the language to figure out what they want.
Yeah, I know that a lot of my coworkers at Wendy's spoke Spanish, a language I didn't speak, and that's one of the reasons they never could promote me to management, is because I did not speak Spanish fluently enough to be able to talk to them to understand what's going on.
And in my case, I only speak very, very little. I'm trying to learn the language, but I don't know enough for even a basic conversation, to have a conversation. I know words here and there. I grew up, my great-grandfather was born in Puerto Rico, and I spoke Spanish with him growing up. He passed away at the old age of 98 in 2006, but growing up, I would try to learn Spanish through my great-grandfather and just try to pick up the language, because in a business, and Christian, I'm sure as a business owner, it would be beneficial to be bilingual, or at least have a bilingual employee, correct?
That's beyond correct, yes. You are going to have customers from all sorts of different backgrounds, and, here in Texas, Spanish is the second most common language, right after English, of course. And on top of that, we're in the Houston area, which is one of the most diverse cities in the country. You name any country from the other side of the world, chances are somebody from there lives here in Houston. That's how diverse we are. It is important to make sure that you can handle customers from different backgrounds. You never know who you're going to be interacting with. Going back to your story with ShopRite and how you were able to handle this customer, this Spanish-speaking customer on the phone, it is once again a great example of how collaboration is important to getting customers' problems taken care of. You weren't able to handle this one particular customer because she mainly spoke Spanish, but you were able to find an associate who was able to help you, or two other associates, I should say.
It was the one who was able to translate, and then she gave the information to me. Then I ran to find the other associate who was upstairs doing some training, and I asked her the question that the Spanish-speaking associate asked me that the customer was requesting, and I asked, the other girl. She didn't speak Spanish, but I was able to get the information from the one who did, ran to find the other girl who was actually in the department that was needed, and she told me the answer. I literally ran down the stairs, opened the door, slammed the door shut, ran all the way back down across the store to ShopRite from home to give Yasmin the answer so she can give the customer. All while out of breath a little bit, but still.
Yeah, everything was taken care of in due time. And when it comes to customers who make inquiries, it doesn't matter if they're English or Spanish speakers. The one way that you avoid getting your customers angry is making sure that you have a legitimate answer for them. If it's an issue that you need to investigate, then you need to promise to them that you'll follow up with them, get their contact information, call or email them back and let them know when you have an update. You also want to make sure that you have a timely update for them. Don't go a whole week without contacting them. If you don't get an update within a day or two, still contact that customer, follow up and tell them you still don't have an answer yet, but you're still working on it. Never ever leave your customers in the dark when they have a question about something that needs an answer right away, especially if it's a question about something that they've already paid for but still have not received their product or service.
Or have paid for, but the order got canceled. And you have no idea why the order got canceled. And there was, for example, I had bought something at Walmart.com and it was canceled for no reason. It stated that there was a potential fraudulent issue on my card. However, this was more than 24 hours after placing the order. So the order was a pickup order. It was ready for pickup. I was about ready to go there and pick it up. Pickup was closed, whatever, fine. I went the next day. I was going to go the next day. So the next morning, it was about 24 hours after the original order was placed, they said, I got an email stating that my order had been canceled due to potential fraudulent activity. Well, first and foremost, all my billing information and debit card information, I have no credit card, I have my debit card, and billing information on the debit card is up to date. Number two, an associate on Walmart's customer service phone number line had helped me and placed the order on my behalf after telling me that I need to update my billing information, which I did, thus having this associate place the order for me. Number three, I tried calling Walmart customer service, notating whom I spoke to the day prior, the date and the time and the person I spoke to, so they can see in the system and verify with this person. Another issue that I have with call centers like that, that, why was this order canceled? This was back in August. I believe this was mid-August at this point. It is now mid-September. The associate whom I asked, why did this order get canceled? What is the fraudulent activity that you guys are referring to? Said that he would open an internal investigation and reply to me within 48 hours. Well, I'm sorry, it's been a month. I have not heard back. I believe tomorrow after work, I have to do work tomorrow. Tomorrow after work, I may call them, or if we have time tonight, I'll call them and see what is the status on this month-long internal investigation, because they were supposed to email me within 48 hours. Fortunately, they never did. They never contacted me. I always check spam mail. Nothing there. I checked in my email. Nothing there. Nothing within 48 hours came from Walmart.
That's unacceptable. That's beyond unacceptable.
Another angry customer.
Yeah, I can see exactly why you don't like to do business with Walmart anymore. That is unacceptable for them to leave you in the dark for that long. They should have given you an update somewhere in there. Even if they never solved the issue, they should have still sent you an email telling you that they don't know what's going on and that they're working on it still. But to leave you in the dark without...
Actually, this item wasn't even for me. This item wasn't even for me. I bought this item for somebody else to pick up. at their local Walmart.
But still, regardless of whether the item was for you or if it was for somebody else, it's unacceptable for them to not even give you an update or follow up with you on any of this. For them to just leave you in the dark, not even knowing what happened. That's crazy, crazy unacceptable. There is no excuse in the world for them not to do.
I will bring my money over to Target. They may be more pricey than Walmart, yes, but their customer service makes up for it. They have such better customer service. In my personal opinion, as a consumer, I would go Target over Walmart any given day of the week.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. They do have good customer service at Target. Their selection's not as big because their stores are not as big, but I see exactly what you mean. They're accustomed to giving that Chick-fil-A type of customer service where they will do whatever it takes to make sure that their customer is happy. They'll break their back to make sure you leave the store with a smile on your face. But the fact that you told me this story...
And Target actually has a rule that if you pick up one of the phones for customer assistance in their store, that an associate has to help you within 90 seconds or it's going to impact their customer service satisfaction rating score, which if it goes too low, they can get written up or terminated for.
And on top of that, with that situation I was just mentioning with Walmart, the first time that the item went to be picked up, I placed the order. So I tried calling that particular store 6 times. No, I'm sorry. Was it 6? No, it was like 10 times. 5 times at customer service, where it just went to just no answer. And then I tried calling, then I tried calling the pickup location, and I had probably the phone picked up once, and then it hung up. Yeah, then it hung up. No acknowledgement that I was even on the line. No acknowledgement that anyone was even there.
When you call Walmart stores locally, they're notorious for never picking up the phone, no matter which department. Supposed to connect to customer service department, I believe, but nobody ever seems to answer regardless of who you ask for. And this whole thing, the fact that they didn't update you, they didn't answer any of your calls, either at the customer service number or at the local store, is unacceptable. Crazy unacceptable.
And on top of that, I gave that local store, not even my area, not even my state, I gave that particular local store a very lovely, sarcastic here, a very colorful 1-star review stating in the beginning, this store barely deserves the 1 star I am about to give it, and here's why.
Yeah, I wish Google reviews and other review-based platforms would allow us to leave 0 stars, because even 1 star is too generous at times.
Absolutely, Christian, without a doubt. And especially that the way that particular local Walmart treated my friend, it was just, there's no excuse to give it a 1 star.
See, there are times where the customer is wrong when they're angry, but then there are times where the customer has a very justified right to be angry because the business did not meet their expectations.
Nor did the manager in this case. The manager was the one at fault in this case that made me and my particular friend angry.
I can't blame you at all. I mean, I'm angry for you right now just hearing this story. As a business owner, I make sure that my customers are served 1,000%. I never leave them in the dark. I make sure that all their issues are tackled, and I make sure to update them regularly, even if I don't have their issue taken care of immediately. And Walmart gets an F on all areas. We've already covered several rules of how to handle angry customers. Now we're talking about how to avoid making your customers angry, period. As much as the story made me angry, I'm more than happy that you shared it with us because it is a great example of what not to do. And a lot of business owners are going to be tuning in to this show, and they're going to learn from everything you've shared with us today over what not to do. They're going to know exactly how to treat a customer. They're going to do the opposite of what these idiots you've told us about have done. This is the exact reason why you are going to be a perfect guest for today's show.
I appreciate the invite. I would be more than happy to share from an associate's level of anything that you need in the future pertaining to the employee side of things.
So as we wrap up the show, does anybody have any additional remarks or questions or any more stories that they would like to share, or do they want to talk about something that we didn't cover?
I do.
Yes.
If I may.
Of course.
Okay, so when I was working at Kohl's, I learned about the two-person in a line rule. Now, each associate is allotted two people in a line. So if you were working as a cashier, you had say you had 4 people working the register at that area, you were allotted up to 8 people in line or 8 parties, for example. So you had a family that were counted as one. So you were allotted 2 people per associate in line. The moment you had an additional person come up, say you had those 8 parties in line, 4 associates, a 9th person comes up and you're not able, and none of the associates are able to be finished anytime soon, or they just started, and a 9th person comes up, you had to call for backup, no matter what. So, as I said, person can equate to party as, for example, there's 6 people in line, a family of 4 with a couple behind them. That's actually considered 2 because of the fact that the cashier assumes that the family of 4 will come up to the register or customer service desk or wherever at once, and then the couple will come up at once. So I learned the 2 people in a line rule. So that can also allow for quicker checkouts, quicker assistance at customer service, and things like that, which also in turn makes the customer happy. Also, acknowledging a customer. If you're a cashier and you're helping somebody with a bigger order and somebody with a smaller order comes up, and you acknowledge the customer, just comes up, the second customer, and you turn to them and say, I'll be with you momentarily. That right there shows to the second customer that, hey, I'm acknowledged. I know she's busy, but I'm acknowledged at least.
Right.
Let me put my stuff down. She said she'll be with me momentarily, and I with the customer momentarily. Now, some things that I've noticed while working as a cashier that customers do to help other customers with their satisfaction at the register is, like I said, that I acknowledge the customer. The customer A acknowledges customer B and says, I'm so sorry, I'll be done momentarily. Another thing is, please be mindful of where your shopping cart is, because if they're trying to put something down on the belt and you're bagging at the opposite end and your cart is over by the upper belt, the first belt that it goes on to at the supermarket, please move your cart as a courtesy to the second customer trying to put their stuff down. That can also increase customer satisfaction on the second customer's end.
That's right. Sometimes it's not even the employees who make other customers angry. It's the other customers who are not courteous enough and just don't care.
Exactly.
I know that I've been in this position many times where one person in line in front of me is holding up the entire line because they had an issue with a coupon or they asked the cashier a question. And I do remember one time I was at Walgreens and one person was checking out. The line at the front of the store was so long it backed up all the way to the photo counter. All because one person that was trying to buy one item with a coupon that they were having issues with. They were holding everybody else up.
Been there, done that, Christian. Unfortunately, that is the case with a lot of places, and especially from a cashier standpoint, we are there to ring up your purchases. We are not there to be the best friend that you had lost touch with 10 years ago. We want to get you in and out as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We are not there to chit-chat with you about random stuff, especially in the middle of the day when you got lines going out across into the aisles.
What you just described was a topic of one of our past podcast episodes. In that episode, we discussed how it's important to get straight to business. I tell all of my agents that I have, all of my independent contractor agents, that when you talk to a customer for the first time who's interested in getting CDG services, I want you to be sweeter than apple pie towards them. I want you to treat them like kings and queens, but don't waste time. I want you to get straight to business. When you start the meeting, remember that time is money. Remember to treat them like royalty. But don't waste time talking about your kids or what you did over the weekend or what shows you saw on TV last night. That's not what you're there for. You're there, duck business, close out the deal, and then let us do the hard work that you gave us money for. That's all we're there for. If you want to become friends with my agents, fine. Get their Facebook, get their phone number, and talk outside of business hours. During a business meeting is not the time.
Do so on your personal time. Absolutely. And if I, now in my training as a cashier at ShopRite, I have been, been trained that, hey, there is an acceptable amount of small talk, but too much small talk is a bad thing. For example, I'm ringing up a customer with some meats, a whole bunch of meats, a whole bunch of barbecue sauces. It's Labor Day weekend, and I have small talk as I'm ringing up the customer. I start the transaction. Do you have a ShopRite card? Yes or no? Blah blah blah. Yes, I do. I scan the ShopRite card. Any coupons or rain checks, which is our go-to next, and they say no, but I have digital coupons. Will that come off? I said yes. When I hit the total button, that should come off, and we'll double check at the end. So I noticed they have you have a lot of meats. Are you making a party? You're having a party for Labor Day. So yes, acceptable small talk is okay, but when you're at the payment section of the purchase of the transaction, cut the small talk. Cut it out, because there's no need for small talk at this point. End the transaction with, well, hope your party goes great, and we'll see you again soon.
That's exactly right.
That should be the end of it.
That's right. That's exactly right. You'll want to make your customers happy at the point of sale by simply acknowledging them and being friendly, but don't let them dominate with irrelevant small talk, because that is going to hold up the line, and all of the other customers waiting in line are not going to be happy. There's also your occasional customer who will ask endless questions about certain products they're buying, or if you're in a restaurant, about what's on the menu. I remember this one time resulted in me walking out the door. I walked into a McDonald's. I was driving home from school. This was 11 years ago when I was in college, and I was driving home from school, and it's Houston, it's hot here, and I pulled into McDonald's to get a drink. I went inside. I didn't go through the drive-thru because I didn't feel like waiting in the line, but I went inside. There is no line, but there is one customer at the counter. I'm standing there for probably 5 minutes waiting, because this customer keeps pointing at random menu items, and they keep asking the cashier, what comes on this? What comes on this? Cashier explains it, and then she's like, okay, now tell me, what comes on that? What comes on that? And I've already lost patience. I'm out the door. I'm back in my car, and I drive away. I don't even bother.
And that McDonald's lost a customer at the moment. Yep.
They were only going to get $1 from me, though, but still, $1's $1.
Yeah. Well, in terms on my end, on a cashier at a supermarket's end, if you have a question on a product, about the price of something, please ask us for a price check. Because we are more than able to do price checks for your items without having to void out the item. The moment at our particular company for ShopRite, I know to be true that if you either double scan accidentally, which, by the way, I always apologize, I double scanned it, let me take it off. I took it off and I pointed on the upper screen that the customer sees as proof as I removed the item. However, if an item is either removed or, say, a Poland Spring 5-gallon bottle return, and it's $6 or more, I've noticed we had to get a manager override. So if you have a question on the price of something, or if you're not sure how much something costs, just ask us to do a price check. We can do a price check without having to void the item or the transaction. That's no big deal. And even if you don't scan your ShopRite card in, we can still do a price check with the ShopRite card amount added to it, because it shows on the little slip of receipt paper that comes out original price and then price with the card. So if you have any questions about prices, please, for all of the people involved, the cashiers, the runners, the other cashiers in line, and the other customers rather in line, please just ask us for a price check. Even if you don't get the item, we are more than happy to do a price check for you, so you don't waste time in the line, so we don't have to waste time asking the runner to override our transaction when we're trying to get your receipt out.
If your store has price scanners mounted randomly on the columns around the store, they can also go there to get their prices checked too.
Unfortunately, we do not. But that should be something that should be brought up to our management. Actually, come to think of it, Christian, tomorrow I might actually see if the store manager is in and ask him, curiously, why do we not have price check scanners when other ShopRites do? See, we're a Village supermarket. There's two types of ShopRites. There's Village and World Class. Other villages may have price checkers. World Class might have price checkers. Why don't we?
Exactly.
Why doesn't our store have it?
Exactly, because having those price checkers will only increase efficiency even more and make things easier for the customer and easier for the employee. So that way, hardworking employees like you don't have to drop what you're doing to check this price. They can just check it themselves. The only other time they would need to ask you about a price would be if an item is missing a price sticker, or if there's no price on it at all, or if they have questions.
Or if it's a weighted product, like produce, like cherries, for example. I couldn't begin to tell you how many times people refuse cherries because they see $5.99, but they don't see it's $5.99 a pound. So they end up paying $12 for the cherry, $12, $13 for the cherries, and they wonder why. I said it's $5.99 a pound, and you bought 2.something pounds of cherries. They said, well, that's not what the sign said. So now I have to get the runner involved in a price check to tell them it's $5.99 a pound, to show them the sign. And then that wastes time even further.
Yeah. Time is money, and you don't want to waste time while you're on the job. Customers can waste your time if they are giving you problems like that. At that point, it's the customer's fault because they did not read the sign properly. It might say per pound in fine print, but it's still the customer's responsibility to read that stuff. At that point, they can't get all upset with the store over a mistake that they made. We always hear the customer is always right? And that can definitely be true on a lot of different levels, but there are always going to be those exceptions where it is not true. The customer needs to do their own due diligence, their own research when they want to find out the price.
And look at a coupon, for example. I was working at the customer service desk at Kohl's, and a woman comes up to me and says, well, you have a 40% off sale coupon. I said, we rarely do 40% off, only the last day of our 15, 20, 30, and that's not going around right now. She says, no, I have the coupon right here. I said, all right, may I see the coupon? She shows it to me, Lord & Taylor.
Really?
Yep, Lord & Taylor. I looked at the coupon. I looked I knew Lord & Taylor because I used to shop at Lord & Taylor at the local mall when Lord & Taylor was still a thing. And I said to her, trying not to laugh, I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, that coupon is for Lord & Taylor. She looks at it and starts laughing and says, I am so sorry. You're absolutely right. I was wrong.
See, that's the importance of making sure that the customers are double checking and reading everything when they buy something. It could be a price tag sign at the store. It could be their service agreement. You can't just sign something without reading it. And when you go shopping and you start buying stuff without reading the price tags, you're basically saying you agree to pay that price, even though you didn't read the fine print. It's a legally binding contract.
I never sign anything without fully understanding what I'm getting myself into, and even the fine print I will read. If I don't understand it, I don't sign it until I understand 100% of the document, including the fine print at my comprehension level. And I do have some comprehension issues. However, I make sure to understand it at my level, 100%, all of it, including 100% of the fine print, before I sign a document.
That's always important. Too many people do not read, and I've had the same experience myself, because when people come to CDG to get website design work done for their business, they don't read the contracts. And here's how I know which of my clients are not reading the contracts. They get upset when I send them the invoice and I bill them for certain items that they asked for. Certain items that I have to charge extra for. In the contract, it says specifically what I am charging extra for. And I even have that section in red so that they don't miss it. Because I don't want them coming back to me later asking me, why'd you charge me for maintenance? Why'd you charge me for this extra page? Because it's in your contract. It says that if you need anything outside of the scope of the job, this is how much it's going to be. This is how much extra it's going to be.
I think they see it, but they don't.
They don't.
It's in red. You think they see it, but they don't.
Because they don't read it. They go to that last page of the contract, they sign it, they give it back to me, and they don't read a thing.
Because they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Exactly.
A lot of them don't care until they have a problem later.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true too, Justin. That is true too.
I tell everybody, or when I talk to consumers, I always stress the importance of doing your due diligence on anything that you buy. You'll never know what you're getting into. And like you said, Dana, it's important to make sure that you know what you're getting into before you sign anything or buy anything. And sadly, there's just too many customers out there who are not like you at all and will just sign up for anything willy-nilly, and then when they have a problem, they're locked in. They have no way out.
For example, I just got a new apartment and moved in the end of July. So with my apartment, I actually had questions on the agreement. So I called the leasing office for the apartment complex that I'm in, and I asked them, can you explain this? And even though I asked the people, the leasing consultant to explain it in brief, it at least gave me the general gist of what it meant. And even if I didn't understand what it meant, I asked, I'm sorry, can you just explain that to me in a different way? Because I don't get it. And he was able to, explain each individual page. Now, each individual page pretty much mimicked itself with the exception of the general gist of the page. Mm-hmm. So by getting the general gist, I was able to understand the particular page. He was very patient with me, and I was very happy with his patience. And it goes both ways. You got to be patient with, the associates. They're trying to help you. And we associates have to be patient with the customers who might not understand something.
That's right. All business owners and all frontline employees who deal with the public, if you cannot be patient and calm and understanding with your customers, then you don't deserve to be in those positions. You shouldn't be in business. You shouldn't own a business. Hire somebody to handle the front end of your business for you if you can't do it yourself as a business owner.
You apply for a management position, you know what you're getting yourself into before applying for the management position.
Right. And when you do apply for a management position, also remember that becoming a manager or taking any type of position and authority does not give you a license to be rude to people and think that you're better than all of them.
Yes, my shop right from home lead actually yelled at me a couple times for something that wasn't even in the front end rule. It was in grocery. I was working grocery at that time, and I got called to work front end at the register for the rest of the day. The shop from home lead comes over to me and says, did you take your break and lunch? And I said, no, I only took my lunch, which by law, if you're working a specific number of hours or more, you have to take a lunch. Justin, I know you are familiar with federal law. Please correct me if I am wrong on this.
That is actually correct. If you work longer than 6 hours, you're required a minimum half-hour lunch.
That's correct.
At Kohl's it was 7 hours, but yes.
That is correct. That's also Texas state law, too.
So at that time, I was working an 8-hour shift. I normally do 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that's opening shift with an 8-hour day. So I did not have to take my 15-minute rest break, even though I had to, log it in Chronos, which is the application that we use for our time clock, that I had to take my break, but I didn't have to take my break. But I knew I had to take a required 30-minute lunch break. So I told, the shop from home lead, who asked me, who was the runner at that time, actually, she can do both. And I said, no, I only took my lunch, though. I felt my lunch was more important to take than my break. And she goes off on me, say, you have to take your lunch and your break. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. So just because she's a supervisor did not give her the right or the privilege even, or just whatever. She did not have to yell at me like that.
Not at all. I want to close off by making this final note about that. The main reason why I left the corporate world to become a business owner is because I've had too many bosses who are unreasonable like that. The biggest problem with managers or any authority figures is that they have these disgustingly unrealistic expectations for their subordinates. Some of them believe you have to be better than God at your job or you suck at your job. That's always been their view, and I couldn't handle it anymore.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. There was a manager I actually left because of, I left Kohl's because of a poor management issue. Mm-hmm. I filed an integrity report against that manager. Nothing happened from the integrity report, but karma happened. He got got fired a couple months later after I left. Unrelated issues.
Right.
Extremely misogynistic, too.
We're going to do a whole episode on that later on, too, where we discuss poor leadership and how it's bad for bosses to be unrealistic and stuff like that.
Sounds good, Christian.
Sounds good, Christian. I appreciate that. And I look forward to being on future shows.
I thank all of you for coming on the show today. We covered a lot of hot topics, and I really hope that the business owners that listen to this podcast understand what it takes to make a customer happy and what they need to do to make sure that their angry customers are taken care of. You never leave them in the dark. You always try to find a solution. Once again, I thank you guys for joining the show. And y'all have a great one now. This was a great episode of the BizCast, and I know that many of our listeners are going to benefit greatly from it. Thank you.
Definitely was a good session.
Definitely, I agree with that.
I agree. This was a great episode.